system component just to introduce the ideas. But the main thrust of today's lecture will be on the BRT, fast rapid transit. What are the system components? So if we just look at the formal definition, is a rapid mode of transportation that can provide the quality of a rail transit. So that's an important thing. It's fixed, it has experience of that kind, and the flexibility of buses. So that's the main thrust of the definition of this BRT. And BRT is a flexible but prominent integrated high-performance system with a quality image and a strong ID. So that's another way of looking at the BRT system. So the key attribute of BRT system is four. Number one, the speed. So we need to ensure that travel time is competitive, minimize as much as we can offer the mobility by transit. Reliability is the next one. We ensure that the transit is reliable from various an identity and the image. So it should be different from the current bus transit system. It should be something more stronger so that people can feel it's a fixed, a rail-like service. That's an important piece, and as well as the passenger-friendly design, both at the terminal stop, all the system components that I talked about in the first lecture, those are the things that we need to look at for each of those. Please feel free to ask a question as I go for each of the pieces. So look at the BRT system components. So the vehicles, running ways, station and terminal design, and all the systems. So these are the four things that we'll be talking today, like where and what type of things that you can do to design a successful BRT. So first of all, the vehicles. Before I go to the vehicles, BRT has another nicer thing is what we call BRT can be think of a package. You don't need to bring everything together, the perfect BRT. You can take some of those kind of features that can have at least the four attributes that I chose, but you enhance as you go. So the flexibility also there in terms of the design point of view. And what that could be, say for example, you can have vehicles, you can use some existing vehicles, but rebranding it, you can buy the new one, but you can as well, just a second, I think for some reason it's not showing the whole picture. Full screen mode. Yeah. So you can do the enhanced stop. You can do a lot of things within the running way, the network design. You can do maze, you can do some bus streets, some grid separated pieces. You can use some ITS, some fare collection technology, or Wi-Fi, or many other amenities. And you can do some intersection preferential treatment. But it can be gradual, it can be a combination. So there could be different alternative types of BRT package that you can offer and then add on as you go. And that's how many cities actually evolved. They got an initial BRT, then they come up with some other things. But there must be those four attributes reflected: speed, reliability, passenger-friendly design, and so on. And these are the examples of different BRT system in North America. It's a bit old. There should be some more coming on. They put a Halifax here as well because of that Metrolink, the way it was branded initially was a BRT system. But I would say these are more in progress.
What was the first BRT, or the first thing to be branded as BRT?
I think Bogota was the most well-known. I think Curitiba was probably the first BRT implemented. But the Bogota got the prominence of the city was defined by the BRT system itself.
So it's not that old, really?
It's not that old. It's not that at all old. It's a very new branding as well as new type of system. And these are the potential planned BRT and many of those came. So I will go one by one, vehicles, running way, ITS system, one by one system components, where and what type of things that you can do. Vehicles, you should have a different type of vehicle. That's the starting point. Let's put it this way. If you are running the same bus that we are running, then probably that's not coming. And that newer type should add to the different system upgrades, the physical identity of those kind of things. So for the vehicles, you can have a rubber tire, you can have different kinds. It must be accessible, but the conventional buses, but the specialized BRT buses will be preferred. These are some examples, like the size of the buses, the standard 40 feet or articulated 160 feet, that could be, but the choice of your BRT bus will be depending on your ridership estimates, roadway design restrictions, the turning. Say for example, articulated buses right in front of the Bell Line building doesn't look good because it always violates Motor Vehicle Act. It goes to another road just for turning, so that doesn't make much sense in that way. So we have to look at those design, and we can also do in the practical point, we can mix with other existing and new buses, and I will give some examples of the style. Say you can put some sort of front cone in your existing buses, and that can give another kind of just a feeling of that kind, but you can also add many other features, many other things, say left door, and a left door or both door alighting and boarding. That's another way. The reason of BRT is actually like reducing the travel time. Like, so what happens if we have both door? It reduces the dwell time. All the way entry, it reduces the dwell time. The automatic fare collection, it reduces. Or the proof of payment, then say for example you don't pay anything, but you need to have a proof of payment or hefty kind of charge, like that Go Transit does, proof of payment. Like no, not anymore. Like it used to be when I was in Toronto. I think right now you have to scan and then enter. So it's a proof of payment in certain ways, but you like that can, so you reduce the dwell time. The idea is how you ensure those reliability and the speed attributes of that. So you can add that kind of feature, front door, left door. So these are some of the examples of different cities: Kansas City, Boston, York, Viva was also doing a kind of that type of like BRT like service. They claim so we'll, like they started that package maybe in the so whenever you think about BRT, like they maybe started at the very low end of like the package we are talking about, but that's how it started. But some cities did a very successful implementation. These are and the amenities, like you guys probably know, like a different kinds of like a wider seat, maybe less seats, so that a lot of people can go. Usually these are for high demand services, so you can put those kind of things. So these are some of the things identified from there. Then the aesthetic enhancement is also important, so that like it looks like you are riding a nice service, user experience point of view. So that's actually very important. Maybe a system-wise recognizable logo, color schemes, wrap advertisements, so that it looks like you are having a public transit. It's not just for the poor people, or it's not for the low-income people. It's actually for everyone, offering a nice, better mobility option people can choose from. You can do different cleanliness, perceived security, adding many ITS pieces, but branding is important. Like we'll talk about that as well. Branding is very important, and adding more and more ITS, intelligent transportation pieces, that's important. Larger windows, enhanced lighting, those type of things. And boarding enhancement, you can do low floor boarding, all of that. And raised floor, that's coming as a design solution. Raised floor right up to the bus door, and it gives that like the preferential treatment. So in another way, if you look at, so BRT is giving bus a preferential treatment as well, and a different kinds of preferential treatment. Even people have done very nice things, stop design and terminal design, to make sure those type of things is available as well. You see some of the examples there, and ITS features that like you can have a guidance system, you can have onboard data computers, you can have APCs. We talked about APC, automatic passenger counting, as well as security camera and real-time monitoring. For example, this is becoming a very, very effective tool, like just to make sure that reliability portion is available, and the real-time dissemination of that the time, like 5 minutes late, see your bus. So you get the rail-like experience. So the important piece is rail-like experience in subways and others, like all of those kind of things. So a control system, or even you can do sometimes reliability can be also if buses arrive early in your stop. That's not good too. Like that's not good too, because then you might leave there's a tendency, so those control stations like make sure like those things doesn't happen, and many cities have implemented those type of operational piece. Safety and security, like collision avoidance sensors, those are like becoming common, and common onboard camera. It's becoming a very common, so that you feel safe and secure using video surveillance by the drivers. All of those kind of things can enhance within the vehicle some of those kind of things. These are some of the prices that you can look at, like when you'll be reviewing or doing the feasibility study of BAT system, like the standard length, like 300 to 400A, and articulated could be different, and you can also look at the full economy, maintenance costs, and the door configuration if you want both doors and out of doors. Like there are lots of different kinds of flexible design options right now available for the new BAT vehicles, at the same time retrofitting for the existing fleet. Left and right side door, that's a structural modification are significant. It can really give nice boarding and lighting, or even some sort of this kind of off the road pieces, exclusive right of way for boarding and lighting. Those kind of things also give a feeling of that using the rail-like system. At the same time, reliability, like it makes sure there's like the faster boarding and lighting, so the dwell time goes down. You can do various, and the additional cost of the door could be $7,000, and there could be many other ways of enhancing vehicle configuration. And the propulsion system, diesel is the main, but people are going now more and more electric. And even like there is a discussion of that maybe very soon there will be autonomous kind of bus services coming soon. So we hope that the autonomous piece probably will come in the trucking industry first, and maybe the public transit and other kinds second, and then the passenger or other kinds of pieces. But those are important. Bicycle accommodation is important because it's a multimodal systems planning. So it's very important not only just carrying bike, but also the bike rack, like with the stops and other kinds of that integration of like how you can very quickly integrate that. There is also risk, like there is always a trade-off as a transportation planner you guys have to make. The more bike rack that you have and people need to that bike, that actually adds to the travel time. So there is always a tension. So we need to make sure like the more better design we can offer, but at the same time the better service from the transit operational point of view. So we need to have these kind of things like LA, Orange County, some exterior. There are interior bike rack as well. So people started like designing the vehicles in a way so that like you can take the bike, or the bike design could be something different. I saw many of those kind of like foldable bike people just taking in various transit places, and the BAT promotes that because of like maintaining those reliability issues. So you can do many things within BAT buses depending on the need, demand, and the travel behavior. So these are some of the comparison of the vehicle cost, the Adelaide, Brisbane. Australia has embraced in a big way like the BAT system within like this more sprawled structure of urban form that they have used those. So these are some of the costs. Sometimes you forget as a planner or engineer, part of the job is design, but also part of the job is the cost benefit analysis and the cost in the planning, financial cost of it. We all want to do good for the community or good for our transportation system, but it needs to be feasible, like depending on the demand as well as depending on the funds or agency constraints that we have. Now, the second important point, I emphasize on this one most. Vehicle is one, you really get a good vehicle, but the running way. Running way defines BAT system, the right of way, the way we design. That's the substantial change within the network that we need to go for. There should be some sort of ways of physical retrofit. We are retrofitting in most cases, right? We are not as lucky that we are building newer type of new roads of suburban. We are retrofitting our existing car-based traffic ways, right-of-ways for car to some BAT systems. So on street, bus lane, bus bays, those are the important critical planning and design issues. So, and the kind of parameters that we should be looking for is the ability to safely support rapid and reliable service all the time. Whenever you think about BRT, we have to think about it must be rapid and reliable. That's the BRT is all about. And then safe, rapid vehicle access, identity and aesthetics are also important because you have to let people know it's rapid and reliable. It's not just a branding or aesthetics in its own sense. It must have some sort of utility, and you convey that utility through marketing approaches. I have seen many communities or the municipalities try to brand it what it doesn't mean, which is not a good marketing strategy as well. You need to be making those bus rapid transit system or any system that you design, it needs to have a good utility of it. I give one example, say for example, if we have a mug, right, for coffee mug, if the coffee mug doesn't have a handle to hold, it's not beautiful because it doesn't have the utility. So the more you put all the aesthetics, it doesn't matter. So utility comes from the design of those kind of things, but you should brand on the utility of that, which is rapid and reliable service. That's how the branding should go for. You offer that, and then you let people know, yes, the transit system is offering, then we can call it BRT. So you can see some of the running way example, Brisbane, for example, like this is a fabulous way of, like they were lucky to get that kind of land and really have a separated ways, but there could be some sort of a median transit access to the highways and making sure in Houston, for example, they have that exclusive right of way, at least part way in certain cases, so that you see, feel, and really get the rapid and reliable service. And that's important. So this is one way of doing it. There are many examples all around the world, like people are using different kind of old freight transit corridors, bus lanes. For example, one of the idea we were pushing a couple of years ago, that maybe the commuter rail corridor in Halifax, instead of bringing the rail, which is costly, it could be a bus rapid transit. It's flexible, it can run, it can move, like it might not be as safety hazard to the rail operation, which is probably only 6 rails in a day, right? Then the cost involvement is much lower. They have a 2-track line, right? That could be another way of thinking differently, innovatively, more courageously, like how we can use and at the same time afford to have a rapid transit system. Think about our rail cut. How many of you know rail cuts are soft? Right? Via rail, like this is a very good, it's a treasure for the city, right? So if we put the bus, it doesn't matter whether we put the bus or rail, the travel time will be the same or similar. Like the speed, it will be quite similar. So these kind of things can also be thought about, like think about, and we can do. And many cities did that, like utilizing those kind of things in a different way, more innovative way of offering the right-of-way A, which is the most desired. The more you can offer right-of-way A, exclusive right-of-way, the better. There could be elevated sections, so preferential treatment, again, for the bus or for the transit service. The more we can do that kind of design solutions, the better we will have. We can have also tunnels, like for the station access or other kinds, like we can have that kind of thing. So it becomes a railway as well, but not as expensive as other kinds. Some of the stations, maybe in the central downtown area, could have, let's say, Seattle, like could have those kind of tunneling system. I have seen in China they are building tons of these kind of tunnel-based bus entry and exit facilities, which is good in various ways, or they're integrating with their subway system with bus and those goes to the tunnel. And it also gives that preferential treatment, right? You feel as a user, maybe, and also reliable and rapid it can be, because it doesn't bring a lot of conflict points to run those kind of things. There could be mechanical guidance based design. You can put this type of, like, which is exactly like you're running running kind of a train line. Exactly, you can offer, say, this could be our commuter rail option, maybe simply, which is not costly at all in terms of infrastructure, right? Yeah, maybe but it then becomes like much more right-of-way, exclusive right-of-way, or in certain places like we can do even within our broad, within our local street. There could be also some technological support of like rail line services. There could be optical devices or sensor-based devices so that you can run with a very narrow roads, like those are available as well. So it's not like the drivers needs to be very careful of doing that. But there are technologies now, a lot of them, to do running way guidance, both mechanical as well. And at the same time, in certain section, you also show this painted sometimes these painted busways can also give the preferential treatment or perception of it. There is one real, which I talked mostly initially, but there could be also this perception of, oh, we have a better pavement for the busways, we have a brighter color, we have a very different ways of doing that, or very small design changes here and there, like depending on the spaces. If you look at our any road system, you will see there are pockets of unutilized road spaces. There are many of that kind. I'll give one quick example. If anybody is driving through Bedford Highway, just coming to the Windsor Junction, one of the lane, half portion is just striped and nobody used. It's completely underutilized like area. Usually I saw the police car is parked there, right on the right before the Windsor Junction. Check it out. I can see easy preferential treatment, just making it a bus bay and margin. And the reason is there is extra capacity on that side, so they built when they built that side, but the other two flows doesn't have the same capacity. That's why they were not making that right of way available for the car traffic. So these kind of, there are lots of unutilized road spaces here and there if you look at, and a small design change can really bring a big difference in terms of margin, in terms of like reducing the travel time required for bus transit. So we can do that type of arterial bus lanes. And optical, like I said, the technological raise, even the optical, so it automatically kind of stops and do good things in terms of the rapid services. And the materials, colors, marking, there could be tons of Auckland, there are Paris, Denver, Sao Paulo, like there could be tons of different kinds of things that you can do. I saw even in Barcelona within grass or other kind, like they put the grass for those bus and other kinds of, and you feel that it's more for the LRT, but the BRT can have that, like it looks like all within the park, like those transit buses are going out and in. And these things are possible, feasible, not as costly as you can think. That materials, color, marking, these kind of physical attributes can really, really enhance our experience, as well as ensuring the service quality. That is the main focus. You can also put different other kinds of preferential treatment. One is like which widely talked about even in integrated mobility plan. How many of you know there is an integrated mobility plan? Okay, so it came. So one of the biggest piece I saw in the integrated plan is this TSP, transit priority, or they are called TMP probably, transit priority preferences, which is like it can be the bus will request to the signal that I need more extra green extension or red truncation, and you can easily offer. And this type of technology is available for last like 20 years, and like many people are using that. So it's the one, you can do the queue jumping, like you don't march, you get the preferential treatment before extra, like the advanced green, you do that. Reduce the delays in the intersection, because intersection is one of the bigger component for overall delay for transit route. You can have also like a much better design, a more extended sidewalks, for example, then you just stop and go. You don't need to march or remarch. But all of those design, like we cannot put anywhere. It needs a very good, careful design and planning exercise so that we know for this particular section of the road, we can give the preferential system. One thing that needs to be done though is that mindset. Usually, our mindset as a transport engineer or planner is to give preferential treatment to car. We try to move the car as fast as we can. If we change that, that we need to actually give the preferential treatment to the buses, then the design can reflect that.